Today is day 9 of the current controversy in relation to gsoc, and it has been hugely damaging to the independence of gsoc. It has been hugely concerning also for An Garda Síochána, and it has really served to undermine public confidence, and that really goes to the heart of democracy, and it is something which has hugely concerned us. We said, it was Monday of last week, we said that an independent inquiry was needed into this, and we're hearing that may now be in the offing. We await to see what the details of that are. No details have been published, so we have to hold counsel in relation to that. In relation to our bill, we've been working on a bill in relation to the ramping up of the powers of gsoc for a number of weeks, and the events of the last 9 to 10 days have served to show up for the public the shortcomings in the remit that, of the legislation which enables and governs gsoc. The bill which we've published today will in the first instance make the Garda Commissioner, the holder of the office of Garda Commissioner, whoever that is, him or her, at the moment it's Martin Callan, subject to oversight by gsoc. Secondly, we're also enshrining into legislation that gsoc will have the authority by way of legislation to have unfettered access to pulse. That's very important. We are also putting into legislation by way of this bill the opportunity for serving members of An Garda Síochána to refer matters to gsoc. That currently isn't the case, as you know, and we've the whole whistleblower controversy which is raging also, and the comments of the whistleblower to Sergeant Maurice McCabe, which are hugely disturbing, when he said that Minister Shatter would finish him. Maurice McCabe is a very credible person, and he is engaged in extended efforts to try and cooperate with the process and with the system that is there, and he has come up against a stonewalling. He has emailed the Taoiseach, and he's tried to use the official channels that were there, and it has come up very short. The final piece that we have in the bill today is to allow gsoc to inquire into any procedure or practice which An Garda Síochána have, and to allow them to look at the procedure and practice and to make recommendations to change that procedure and practice, and that's to facilitate to try and move them into a situation where they would avoid complaints arising in the first place. So if a procedure or a practice is found to be deficient, that gsoc can look at it, and that would then result in issues being dealt with before they arise. In other words, eliminating a problem there. So that's the content of the bill. I think it has been very topical over the last number of days. People from outside the world of politics, we heard former Commissioner Conor Brady, he's been out publicly on the airwaves advocating. We saw arising from the penalty points and from the whistleblower issues which have been ongoing now for a number of months, where the Garda Ombudsman, the three Ombudsmen, have had to take to the public media to articulate their concerns in relation to the shortcomings of the legislation. It's a very concerning development that they had to do that when in fact that they couldn't find that they could knock on the door of the Minister for Justice or the government of the day to get the ramped up powers that they need to do their job. So that's where we are in relation to it. We've launched the bill. The bill will be moved by me in the Dáil tomorrow, and it will put it on the order paper and allow the government the opportunity to put their money where their mouth is in relation to their intent. They say that they want to support the independence of the Ombudsman, but we know by virtue of their actions over the last 8 to 9 to 10 days that they've been anything but supportive of the independent office of the Garda Ombudsman, and that's what really concerns people. It also hugely concerns us the fact that the Labour Party have been very, very dumb and silent in relation to supporting the independence of gsoc. They were very quick to claim credit for their actions when in opposition, which triggered some of the debate around the establishment of the gsoc office. But I think they've been coming up short in terms of living up to what they espoused when they were in opposition. So that's where we are in relation to it. We're happy to take any questions.
Well, it looks like You've been calling for an inquiry. The government's to appoint a retired High Court judge. Now, why not welcome it?
Well, it's step one, David, on the process. We need to hear so much more in relation to it. What will the resourcing around the inquiry be? Will it have the availability of suitable experts to assist it? We said when we called for an inquiry that we wanted to see a person of the calibre of a High Court judge. That seems to be the case. Assisted also by a person who had qualification, suitability in technology around surveillance, and also possibly a policing expert from outside the state. We don't know what the exact terms of reference of this inquiry are going to be. We don't know, for example, will Minister Shatter himself be in front of this inquiry. So the government, if they're conceding in principle, why did it take them so long? Because their inaction and their stonewalling over the last 8 to 9 days has been hugely damaging. And it is a fact that members of An Garda Síochána also, they're part of this debate also. They're hugely concerned by this also, by the prevarication by government, because you've had a vacuum over the last number of days. You've had so much spinning coming from government, trying to deflect away, turning the ombudsman from the status of the victim into the villain. You've then had very much the company which is at the centre of this for the last number of days. They've had to, for the last number of weeks, they've had to issue 2 statements, one yesterday and one today, rebutting some of the spin which has been coming from government. So we've had all the confusion, you've all the questions in the public's mind, but at the end of it, having been out and about as we do at the weekend, the one question which is in people's minds is, can people get to the nub of the issue in relation to who conducted the surveillance and why was the government trying to deflect away from it? And you've all the language that's going on in relation to the Wi-Fi and the technology. People focus on the fact that at 1 a.m. in the morning, when the phone line was tested, the phone line rang back. And nobody could explain that. It was said that the likelihood of that threat being benign was nil or close to zero. So people are concerned that the Ombudsman's office were under surveillance, and they want answers and they want to get to the bottom of it.
Well, the government have also decided that they're going to refer the gsoc legislation to the Justice and Defence Committee. So would you welcome that as well? And will what you have in your private members' bill constitute what proposals you'll bring down in committee?
I think so, yeah. I think that there'd be broad agreement for what we have in our bill here today, and I welcome the opportunity if the Justice Committee want to take a look at it. That's fine. What's contained in the bill are the measures which, particularly the Ombudsman, Kieran Fitzgerald, Simon O'Brien, and Carmel Foley have been articulating on the public airways for the last number of months in relation to the shortcomings of the legislation. And when you take, for example, one example which is out there in the public domain, and it was articulated by Kieran Fitzgerald, that they were inquiring into one issue, a death of a person while in police custody, and it took them nearly 2.5 years to get a witness statement out of some members of An Garda Síochána. That's not good enough, and that's not serving justice. It's not doing An Garda Síochána justice, and it's not doing the independence of the Ombudsman's office justice in terms of doing their job. And you have all the other issues which are going on, the day-to-day issues of gsoc trying to do their work. That's just one kind of bread and butter example of the type of difficulty that they're coming up with. Also, Nuala O'Loan, and she articulated it at the weekend in relation to making the Commissioner responsible, coming under the remit of gsoc. It didn't, I suppose, it has proved that it hasn't made sense that when the Chief of Police isn't subject to the oversight, that the remainder of his force is subject. It just doesn't make sense. It's not consistent. So that inconsistency needs to be dealt with.
On a different issue, Charlie Flanagan has said he's a difficulty with Pádraig McLaughlin being chair of the Oversight Committee and Justice spokesman for Sinn Féin. Is that something that concerns you, Chair?
No, I sat in at the Petitions and Oversight Committee last week when gsoc were in, and I'm not a member of the committee, but I couldn't fault Pádraig McLaughlin for his chairing of it. I think again it's a diversion. It's another attempt by government to try and move away from the substance of the issue and to try and create a diversion and hope that maybe you guys might go down that alleyway after that. It's not an issue.
Do you think that the government only bowed to the pressure of private members' business? You're going to have to answer up why no independent inquiry, so they just decided, well, okay, let's have one.
Yeah, I think the government have to answer why they left this rumble on for 9 days. Certainly private members is an opportunity to put pressure on government. It's the Sinn Féin opportunity this week. We called, as you know, late last Sunday evening, Monday morning, for the establishment of a public inquiry. But I think the public out there, I think the public would have been contacting government ministers and government backbenchers over the weekend, and I think the Labour Party probably took a bit of a look into their souls and decided that they were for once going to become relevant to the political goings-on in this country, and maybe exercise a small bit of leverage at the cabinet table and around government.